Gamercast Network.
Hey. All right. It's a video game show. It's a video game show. It's not a game show about videos. It's a video game show.
And welcome to the Gamercast Network video game show for Friday, April 27th, 2007. I'm Chad, and this week for the roll call, when I say your name, tell me your favorite mini-game from a video game. And joining me this evening is Ivan.
Hi. All right, I'll take the easy one because it's the minigame we played the most. It was probably Super Monkey Ball Bowling.
Keith?
Final Fantasy 1, when you were in the boat and you pressed B like 55 times or something and you did the little move the numbers around.
Bob?
I prefer the Super Monkey Ball jump off the ramp and fly really far game. I was always pretty good at that.
Yeah, but I got one for you. Your favorite mini game was Making a World in Neverwinter Nights.
It's a game within a game. I wouldn't call that mini, though.
So Neverwinter Nights was more of the mini game than the actual.
Pretty much.
My favorite mini game was Neverwinter Nights.
I couldn't wait to get to the world builder.
Phil?
My favorite mini game is Bejeweled inside of Puzzle Quest.
That is
That is the game.
No, it's not.
It is a mini game. It is a very small disc that contains the game. That goes
No,
into
the game is
DS.
to run around from place to place. The mini game is Bejeweled. Come on, you gotta agree.
Don't have to.
We'll just keep rolling on. Tom?
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. I want to say Pac-Man Versus since Bob hated it so much because we always had so much fun with it. I don't know why. My other favorite game was Induce Anger in Other Counter-Strike Players. That was always another fun.
Griefing in City of Heroes, then. I guess that was its own game.
And mine was the mini game was forklifting crates around on the docks in Shenmue. That was my favorite. In Gamercast Network community news, be sure to check out Uncle Gamer Radio episode number 27 with reviews of Guitar Hero 2 and Super Paper Mario. Also, check out Gamertag Radio episode number 96 with a discussion about who's the champ of the gaming world, Mario or the Master Chief. And finally, go check out Podtacular episode number 110, where they're joined by Dweezil from Tide the Leader and Chucky J, head of the Godtacular Bible Study.
Next topic.
This week, let's start off with Pokemon stuff. Does anybody here have Pokemon?
I do. I have Fire Red for the Game Boy.
No, not that Pokemon.
Like actual Pokemon, like I went outside and I did catch a Pokemon, but it died when I put it in that little ball, and I kind of
Suffocated.
I threw it, and it hit the ground, and the ball opened, and it was dead. It just laid there.
It was just
Was
a
it smelly?
puddle of blood.
then
Field
a
mouse,
dog.
I choose you. Oh, I shattered its spine.
Now, this week, the Pokemon Pearl and Pokemon Diamond came out for the Nintendo DS, and apparently they're very popular. Within 5 days, they sold 1 million copies in the United States.
Yeah, that's
a lot.
crazy.
People
They just, it's just like
Pokemon.
printing money for Nintendo.
They should actually print money with Pokemon, because I'm sure people
Well, they're
will try
going to run out of precious stones, so they can just like release Pokemon $39.99.
I've never played a Pokemon game. What do they play like?
Pokemon is a typical role-playing game where you walk around, talk to people, go on quests, and the biggest part is you go around and as you fight creatures, you can capture them. Once you capture them, then they're kind of yours to use in battle.
Each Pokemon has 4 moves. As you level your Pokemon, they evolve and whatnot. And the whole thing is basically you want a good... You're only, I think, allowed to carry 6 Pokemon. If you're fighting a rock Pokemon, you want to use whatever's hurts rock. But it's a whole rock, paper, scissor kind of setup. So you kind of want to have a balanced group of Pokemon to fight. If you have a fire Pokemon and you're fighting a water Pokemon, you're pretty much screwed. So you have to know like what zone you're in, and if you're going to run through a desert, obviously bring water Pokemon with you, that kind of thing.
Squirtle!
Next topic.
So, next month in Korea, the big Blizzard Worldwide Invitational, which I believe is going to be a StarCraft tournament. At this Invitational, Blizzard is going to announce their next game. There was an article in a Korean magazine that, accordingly, they got a leak from an employee at Blizzard, and the employee said, yeah, the new game's going to be StarCraft 2. It's going to have a whole new race. It's all going to be in 3D.
I'm most excited for May 19th now. I mean, to finally hear about StarCraft 2, and especially if they're going to add things like a TV mode. I haven't played the latest Command & Conquer, so I haven't seen their like Madden play-by-play, but I would imagine that the new StarCraft's going to have something like that, because I guess all the Koreans wanted that.
Actually, there was there's a bug surrounding that whole observer feature in the Command & Conquer. Somehow the observers can actually participate in the game.
Nice. That's awesome.
But back to StarCraft real quick. Would you be for it, Tom, if it was a real-time strategy 3D thing here? Are you pumped for it, I guess is the word?
Well, of course I'm pumped for StarCraft 2. I trust Blizzard not to release a title unless they felt it was AAA title.
They've done that a couple times before. They with the StarCraft Ghost game that was supposed to come out. That never came out.
And I'm glad they did that. If it sucked, I'm glad they canned it.
In all honesty, when a Blizzard game comes out, for the most part, I'm going into it trusting that it's going to be at least a decent game, because Blizzard does have a high standard of quality, and I like Blizzard for doing that.
You love Blizzard. Why don't you marry it?
Yeah, I would. They're rich.
Tom, here's one other thing, though. What if the next StarCraft was a massively multiplayer real-time strategy game?
I'm telling you right now that there's zero chance of that happening.
Okay, let's assume that the next StarCraft is not going to be a massive multiplayer, but what would you think of a massive multiplayer StarCraft game?
I can't. It's just not even...
Chad, you're an idiot for even saying that. Is that what you want to say, Tom? Is that what you were getting at? I've missed you, buddy.
I haven't.
Aww. Well, there is a massive multiplayer RTS game out of South. Actually, it was a South Korean company called Nexus. They made a game called Shattered Galaxy. So it was an RTS, but there was a meta game. So you had this map, and map was broken up into separate territories, and there were 4 different factions, and each faction started in one of the corners of the map. So now you would jump into a territory that a battle was happening. There might be 20 people there, 10 people from one faction, 10 people from another faction, and you all control maybe like 5 units. As the battle's resolved, now you gained control of that territory. The downside to the metagame was that there was really no benefit to holding territory, so people would push like deeply into someone else's territory, and you would always get pushed right back and forth on the main game map. That was really meaningless. But the battles themselves... Ooh, well, yeah.
Next topic.
Let's talk about Sony and Tom's favorite. Tom, would you like to tell me the soon-to-be ex-president of Sony's name?
Well, Ken Kutarami got.
Actually, Ken Kutarami is living fine and well in your little fantasy world. Ken Kutaragi is the one that's leaving.
And it doesn't matter because he's fired. That's what happened.
Well, effective June 19th of this year, he is stepping down from Sony, and Kazu Hirai is becoming the new CEO.
Yeah, but you know how these things happen when these high-level execs are, quote, stepping down. You know, a successful exec who's been there for a while, he's being moved aside.
You pretty much don't step down from that position unless you're just retiring altogether. Although I'm sure he can. I'm sure the guy's loaded. But
or being forced out. Some board of directors saying, hey, we're not happy with what you've done to our company. Time for you to step aside. I mean, it happened to Bill Gates. He was CEO. Everyone was very dissatisfied with the direction he took Microsoft. So they moved him to this, quote, direction of software vision or something like that, which was pretty much a nice way for the board of directors to fire Bill Gates.
How did you fire Bill Gates?
Yeah, I was about to say, he's Bill Gates.
Yeah, that's when Ballmer took over as CEO. I mean, this was like, 8 years ago now? I mean, it's been a while since that happened.
Anywho. Yeah, Kutaragi was basically fired. Oh, well, good for him. Now we don't have to listen to Tom Butcher's name.
I heard a cool little conversation. I went into the EB games today at lunch, and they were talking about how disappointing the PlayStation 3 is and how crappy it was. I just thought, oh yeah, I've heard this conversation 1,000 times. But one thing I thought was very funny was, and this was the GameStop employee, he was absolutely adamant. He said, and I guarantee you that Sony as a business will be bankrupt by the end of the year.
That's a very ignorant statement. Sony as a business, because all they do, video games.
Was this a young lad, or was this
was this a strapping young lad, or
he was not strapping. He was very pale, very pasty, kind of skittish.
He was a gamer.
Yeah,
that's how.
He was probably in his middle to late 20s, and he even specified he didn't necessarily mean just the PlayStation or the gaming division. He said, I guarantee you mark my words, Sony will go out of business by the end of the year.
Did you just slap a Benjamin Franklin on the counter and be like, I'll take that action?
I should have. I did laugh at one point. I just kind of went.
I would have flipped and start knocking over shelves and be like, "You idiot!" And then I
ripped off my button-down shirt to reveal my PlayStation Sony T-shirt underneath. It's on!
That's such an ignorant statement. I find it hysterical. But that's GameStop for you.
Next topic.
So, Star Wars Galaxies, everyone's favorite MMO from Sony.
I liked it when it first came out. I left before they butchered it. The thing was, it was a very fun game, but they didn't tell you how to do it. Like, all right, so I made my little combat medic commando boy. I maxed out my guy in like a month and a half. And then I was kind of like, okay, now what am I supposed to do? The only thing you could really do was start unlearning skills and like doing it all over again. But apparently there was a whole way to become a Jedi, but no one knew how to do it. So then they started leaking, okay, well, this is how we do it. And right when they started leaking, this is how you do it, World of Warcraft hit the scene. So then there was like a mass exodus, and because so many people were leaving, they tried to revamp the whole style of the game. But that kind of failed because they took away, it basically became like a first-person shooter in Star Wars, and you could now be a Jedi automatically as a class. So in other words, there was no other classes besides Jedis because, well, if you could be a Jedi, why would you want to be anything else?
Yeah, so what you could do in Galaxies, I guess guilds could have their own cities, your US players could have your own houses, that kind of stuff.
You could set up cities because they had all the cities from the movies and whatnot. You could go basically section off a large enough chunk of land, and if you have enough things there, then people, like NPCs, they would start migrating them. All the upkeeps for all this stuff were in-game.
And since everyone left, all these buildings became abandoned. So, starting this June 5th, they're going to start labeling these buildings as condemned and having people go around as wrecking crews.
Wow, so they should rename it like Star Wars Detroit. I mean, I think that's funny they have to pay property tax, or you're going to lose your virtual house.
You bought the plot of land, 30 feet from the biggest city, Mos Eisley's, and you got that prime real estate. If you're not paying the upkeep on it, they want to be able to give it a shot.
That's not prime real estate. Mos Eisley is a hive of villainy and scum.
Yeah, but because it was Detroit. In the movies, a lot of people... But if they destroy all these things, all these abandoned buildings, the world is going to be barren. But Sony pretty much ran that game into the ground in typical Sony manner. That was also when they were still fresh off the success of EverQuest.
So, Chad, if you were to buy a house in the Star Wars Galaxy universe, where would you buy a house?
Coruscant. Where else would you buy a house?
I'd buy one in Alderaan.
I don't know if Alderaan was in that game. I think Alderaan was already destroyed by that point.
That's what I mean, because land is cheap.
What, did you have a pocket full of dust? This is my real estate of Alderaan.
Next topic.
The Xbox, a month ago, they released, made official that they're going to be bringing out a keyboard controller which plugs into the bottom of the Xbox 360 controller and gives you a full QWERTY keyboard. Apparently with the next 360 dashboard update, they're going to have live messenger being integrated into everything so you can text people, other dashboard people or people on PC.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
It's going to be much easier for me now when I'm in Uno to be like, baby, take your shirt off. Come on, show me, baby.
See, I'm not even looking at it like that. I'm looking at it like if I'm playing football and I want to name my character, I don't have to move the little joystick around to name my stadium, my team. Right. I mean, I can now just actually type it in, and that's going to make my life a lot easier. If I want to instant message someone, I'll go to my computer.
Well, I guess the other thing here is that the third-party peripheral maker Mad Catz is making one that is kind of similar for the PlayStation 3 6-axis controller.
Yes, and if it's Mad Catz, it's going to break within the first 3 weeks. So
it attaches to the top, where I can just imagine holding on to the top to type a message and it unconnecting from the controller, because the palm of your hand is just going to push it right off.
Yeah, their whole design doesn't seem to make much sense.
At least on the Microsoft one, it looks normal. Like your thumbs, it just looks like your thumbs will move there naturally.
But it's Mad Catz. I mean, what are you expecting here? Mad Catz isn't exactly known for quality or comfort.
I guess that one's already out, and it's priced at $30. Oh, the Xbox One has no price yet. No word on price. It's still, this summer is the release date.
It doesn't even look like the controller is going to be that much bigger. It literally looks like just take the regular controller and the space at the bottom, here's a keyboard.
I will probably get one for the exact reason that Keith mentioned, and that's either somebody says, hey, do you want to play game X? And I have to reply, yeah, give me a couple minutes. I have to go do a couple things.
But in that case where you get like an invite, don't you usually just voice reply?
Only reason I don't sometimes is because I'm a fat, lazy pig, and if my microphone is not within arm's reach,
Yeah, but then again, chances are that thing's not within arm's reach too. So
He does have a very valid point there, Ivan. I still think it would be worth picking up one.
Oh, I can't see it not selling. I mean, it's too practical.
In fact, now I'm kind of wondering why it took so long for them to do something like that.
Next topic.
So for the PlayStation 3's stellar game, Resistance Fall of Man, they have a new ban policy.
That game sucks. I hate it.
Well, then you've pretty much knocked out half their library right there if you hate Resistance Fall of Man.
I mean, I'm just assuming, you know. I don't actually own a PS.
I'm assuming it sucks. I really don't know if it does, because I've never even seen a PlayStation 3, but, you know.
So they have a new ban policy going into effect now. So I guess when you make up your username, when you display your username, you have like an optional clan tag in the front. So what people were doing was making obscene names that violated their EULA by using the clan tag in combination with their username. And people can imagine what kind of words they probably...
No, I can't. Why don't you give us some examples?
Yeah, do you have a list? I'm going to need an extensive or exhaustive one.
Well, let's just say if the name should appear on that list, you'll be permanently banned from the Resistance Fall of Man and the PlayStation Network.
The whole network?
That's what it says. Your account will be suspended. Here's the one that's a little more interesting, is they're also banning cheats, obviously, but they're not allowing any cheats or exploits in any kind of games, including private ones. And to enforce this, they're having in-game mods which can join and observe a game without a player knowing that the mod is observing them.
Wait, so they're hiring people to go watch games being played.
How do you get that job?
Lazier than a game tester. Oh,
How
God.
I know.
What's a game watcher?
I don't even have to play it. I just look at it.
By joining a game and watching, how do you know that they've modded the game?
The thing is, you're going into these games and watching the players. Like if they were doing an exploit, like there used to be one Counter-Strike exploits where you could see a person go invis for a couple seconds, or if you can see them watching someone through a wall, then you know they have a wall hack or something like that. You observe their behavior.
Yeah, but that's so subjective because you know the famous story of you and I getting banned from that one server that one night. Someone was claiming that we were cheating, and it was only because he sucked so bad.
Yeah, but Tom, we actually kind of were cheating those nights, sometimes.
What were you doing? All right, tell the story. What were you doing?
Our machines would be next to each other. We were ghosting for each other.
Yeah, that is cheating. I mean, we've all done that, but that's cheating.
We didn't do that often, but sometimes we would do that.
At least you weren't hacking.
But back to more important things here.
Let's stop talking about us cheating.
Can I elaborate a little bit more about that one story? We weren't ghosting during this one incident that we had gotten banned. I ran around a corner, and there was a box. The map was militia. And you always, when you're running around this corner, you always check left and go right to the door because there's a box that people always crouch behind. So sure enough, as I went around the corner, I put a couple rounds in the box because in Counter-Strike on some objects, you could shoot through them with certain rifles. Sure enough, he was hiding behind it. I killed him. We weren't cheating, and I didn't know he was there. But that's when he banned us. So then what we did is we downloaded a server scanner, and we scanned his server. And then he took the whole server down.
You guys are mean.
We're not mean. We played in that server every day. We were good buddies with half that damn clan. Weren't we?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
We were the top.
Notice how that was past tense.
Clan was really good. It was the head guy that was a dick. So.
Yeah. Merlin. If you're listening, Merlin, I didn't forget.
Next topic.
Let's go to a list of the top 50 most important games as dictated by GamePro magazine. So number 10 on the list is Metal Gear Solid.
No. You said it was 52. Let's start 52.
Read fast.
We're going to go from number 10 up. If you want to look at the list, go right ahead. But number 10 was Metal Gear
My
Solid.
mouse is all the way over there.
Oh, for God's sakes. Okay. 52 is Pitfall. Number 51 is Mystery House. Number 50 is Contra. Number 49 is Tony Hawk Pro
dear
Skater.
God.
Number 48 is Gran Turismo. Number 47 is Duke Nukem 3D. Number 46 is Super Mario Kart. Number 45 is Halo. Number 44 is Nintendogs. Number 43 is Enter the Matrix. Number 42 is E.T. the Extraterrestrial, the 2600 version. Number 41 is Wii Sports. Number 40 is NBA Jam. Number 39 is Space War. Number 38 is Mortal Kombat 2. Number 37 is Devil May Cry. Number 36 is Diablo 2. Number 35 is Geometry Wars. Number 34 is Dragon Wars. Number 33 is Deus Ex. Number 32 is Dune 2. Number 31 is Dance Dance Revolution. Number 30 is Zork. Number 29 is Ultima Online. Number 28 is Adventure. Number 27 is Half-Life. Number 26 is Pong. Number 25 is Guitar Hero. 24 is Resident Evil 4. 23 is Counter-Strike. Yay. 22 is Kung Fu. 21 is Myst. You want this damn list. It's coming on. Number 20 is Halo 2. Number 19 is StarCraft. Number 18 is SimCity. Number 17 is Street Fighter 2. Number 16 is Doom. Number 15 is Metroid. Number 14 is Final Fantasy. Number 13 is Super Mario Brothers. Number 12 is Tetris. Number 11 is Civilization. Number 10 is Metal Gear Solid. Number 9 is GoldenEye. Number 8 is The Sims. Number 7 is Wolfenstein 3D. Number 6 is Pac-Man. Number 5 is Super Mario 64. Number 4 is World of Warcraft. Number 3 is Legend of Zelda. Number 2 is Madden. And number 1 is Grand Theft Auto 3.
I disagreed with about 75% of those, but I felt it not necessary to call you on every single 52 of them.
I would also say that World of Warcraft should easily be number 1.
More influential than EverQuest, which preceded it, and was almost exactly the same game.
Well, if they have Grand Theft Auto 3 as number 1, World of Warcraft should be above that. I think the list is completely wrong, but just going by what their logic is, World of Warcraft has so many freaking people playing it.
But this is supposed to be about influential, so imagine that it's to influence the titles that came after it. And wouldn't EverQuest be the influencer for World of Warcraft?
It influences titles in the fact that it prevents them from coming out.
I agree with that logic. Very nice, Bob.
Next topic.
What would be your most influential game ever?
I think Doom should be much higher. I mean, it had co-op play, it had deathmatch, and it pretty much defined everything. Wolfenstein was kind of like the demo for how this could work, and then Doom came along and perfected everything.
To this day, though, if you see some stupid 10 p.m. drama about violent video games, that will still show up on monitors from time to time.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's seen Doom. Everybody associates that with, like, the most violent video game or whatever. I definitely have to put that almost top on the list.
Probably the icing on the cake for me is, if you're a programmer, first thing that you ever develop is Hello World. Doom has become the Hello World for pretty much everything, whether it's a cell phone or an iPod or a Nintendo DS. Doom has been ported to more things than probably the number of video games ever created. You can't deny the fact that Doom is hugely influential and way more than 16, probably the top 5.
Yeah, I'm also going to have to go with Doom as well because it was one of the first ones we could actually people were able to easily modify it to have other things like the aliens, total conversions, those kind of things.
And create your own maps.
Right.
I mean, it was a pain in the ass. It was like trying to do AutoCAD, for God's sake. But if you knew what you were doing, you could create maps.
I'm going to say Super Mario Brothers for the Nintendo because that was like my first real step into gaming, and I think that was the case for many, many people. Like, and I understand, yes, Atari beforehand, but I'm talking that was like the first big craze for video gaming was like Super Mario Brothers.
I agree.
I mean, you can go back even further in arcades and that, but I just think for console gaming, which is honestly what has become the main push for today, Super Mario Brothers was the first one that really drew interest in that. But I agree with the Doom thing. I'm just looking at it from more of a different aspect. That's all.
It's equally influential, but in different ways.
All right, Phil or Tom.
I'm going to argue Wolfenstein, but I mean, Doom is a pretty good argument.
So you're running with Doom as well?
Actually, I'd have to say Wolfenstein more, just because it was first.
Okay.
I agree with you guys both with Super Mario Brothers and Doom. Should be both top 10 in terms of influence on the industry. I'm going to say something that probably shouldn't be top 10, and I didn't hear it on the list because I still hear people talk about today. D&D Gold Box games, like the Pool of Radiance. When we were all on our Tandy 1000s, when we were on 286s, those are the first role-playing games that also had graphics, and they still kind of look like the games today, where you have a stat screen and you have a top-down view of your characters. And that's kind of where RPG started, because before that it was all text-based, because then you had games like Rogue, which were all ASCII text dungeon crawlers.
Next topic.
Well, rolling on from that, let's go into another topic here. What game series do you feel needs an overhaul? Like most recently, Resident Evil got an overhaul with Resident Evil 4, and Tomb Raider with Tomb Raider Legend, which was a very good Tomb Raider game.
Virtual Fighter. The 3D fighters are just... I've played a lot of Virtual Fighter on the PS3 lately, and it's exactly the same as all of its previous incarnations.
Which is the same as Tekken.
Exactly.
It was reinvented when they went from 2D to 3D. I think that was a big jump, but you're right. I think that could stand to use a kick in the pants.
I personally would vote for Dynasty Wars because I'm a huge fan of them, and they're all the same, and I would like to see something a little different done with
Well,
it.
how could they change those in any way? I mean,
Have the rest of your armies have some value as well. Like, have it be more of like a war game. I would like to see the army and like have more strategy involved. Have it not just be a complete hack and slash where the formations and the moving of your troops and units and supplies and such has more value, and it's not just how quickly you can mash a button. And while that's fun and entertaining, I would like to see more strategy involved.
Yeah, because now it's something you pick up and you play for an hour, maybe two, but then you get bored. I played like Oblivion, for example. I have played for 4, 5, 6 hours on end at times. It would be cool to have a Dynasty Warriors type game where you could sit down and play it for 6 hours and not get bored with it.
But
You know what would say Virtual Fighter? Babalides.
that was so stupid when Mortal Kombat did that. Same thing with the friendships. I thought those were dumb as well.
But it was fun, and you would. What happened when you would uppercuts and with a certain character, and like one of the developers' silhouettes would pop up and say something.
Going back to the fighting games here, how could you really reinvent those in any way? I mean,
I don't know. It's not our job, Chad. That's the developer's job.
Well,
Our job is just to throw criticism and.
Hey, I came up with an idea. Come up with an idea.
I have lots of ideas, but I want to be paid for them. So if I just give them away on the show.
Next topic.
Okay, guys. I know none of us here are big Final Fantasy lovers.
I am.
Oh, I am playing. I just finished Final Fantasy IV, and I'm playing Final Fantasy V right now.
I have played every Final Fantasy game up to 8. I played halfway through 8.
Oh, you never played 9? 9 was much better than 8 and 7.
Well, I just think for a series that has 13 sequels, Final Fantasy was probably a poor choice of title.
Yes, I agree.
I think the idea here is that each Final Fantasy game is like its own separate universe.
Well, so everyone's a different fantasy, is what you're saying.
And X2. I mean,
well,
X2
the thing is, those ones live within those are spin-offs within that universe.
Okay, but still, it's Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I guess from that point of view, yeah, that does make sense. But here's the big thing this week was that one of the Square Enix guys, Shinji Hashimoto, said that basically they're hoping with Final Fantasy 13 to create a universe that will last for 10 years.
Well, they're on the right track, because it's 13 that has like the 3 or 4 different entries into the title Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, there's going to be the basic game, which is probably coming out on the PlayStation 3 only. Then there are going to be other titles, an action role-playing game, which is called Versus, and then there's going to be one for mobile phones as well. Yeah, so basically they're hoping with Final Fantasy 13 to create a very expansive world where they can keep telling and bringing out new stories rather than have to create a whole new Final Fantasy 14 world and have another non-Final Fantasy.
With Final Fantasy, I want to say 7, they pretty much kept that vein of game moving forward, did they not?
Well, they kept, I guess you'd say, the style of it, but the universe and characters and all the things that are in it are different for each one. So, like, the Final Fantasy VIII universe is not the same as the Final Fantasy VII universe, even though they have the same characteristics in terms of chocobos and crystals and all that kind of stuff. The actual universes of Final Fantasy VIII, 9, 10, 12, and 7 are all disjoint.
It's like you have your Forgotten Realms, you have your Dragonlands, you have your Greyhawk.
Yeah.
You got your Ravenloft, your Starjammer. Okay, I understand now.
Your Dark Sun. You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is, actually, the Final Fantasy 12 one actually ties into the Final Fantasy Tactics stuff, because that's the same universe. That's why I gets confusing.
That was a good game, Final Fantasy Tactics.
That's still one of my favorite handheld games ever.
And I guess one of the side notes to the story is that Square Enix is not going to be partaking of the Virtual Console stuff anytime soon for their Final Fantasy games or Dragon Quest. For that matter.
Why would they? They're making so much money off of them with the DS.
Exactly the point is that they're still making money off them with the DS, and they're still bringing out new remakes of Final Fantasy 1 and 2 for the PSP this summer.
Exactly. They don't have to tap that market yet. They will eventually, I'm sure, when they've sucked the rest of the world dry. You tapped that? You tapped that from the backside?
Next topic.
Mailbag.
What's up? This is Mudvayne Prophet. I disagree with all of you. Cake and pie are two forces that are equally dispersed among human beings. Cheesecake, on the other hand, is a force that cannot be dealt with. It's like the force of Yoda at the end of Star Wars Episodes 2. Cheesecake considered both a pie and a cake. Cheesecake has cake in the name, but unlike cake, it has a crust, like all pies. Cheesecake is like the force that keeps the world from falling into madness of hell. But on to the real question. I'm having this big debate on Xbox Live. I don't have a Wii, so I can't post a poll online. Anyway, the main question is, which movie do you think kicked more ass? Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter? I believe Lord of the Rings is blowout against Harry Potter. Better action. There wasn't as many whiny kids like the Xbox Live in the theater when I went to see Lord of the Ring. Anyway, just let me know which one you prefer. By the way, I think 300 kicks some serious ass. P.S. Cheesecake rocks. And no, I'm not crazy. I'm perfectly sane.
Awesome.
I'm not a fan of cheesecake, but I do bake a very tasty cheesecake.
So you make it, but you just don't like it?
Yes.
I like
this is delicious,
cheesecake,
but it's not for me.
I'm definitely in the pie camp, but I also like cheesecake. But I'm not sure if cheesecake is a third force.
I'm not sure where cheesecake falls.
It's like strudel. Like, are we going to throw strudel into this?
Right,
as well?
yeah. It's like it's like saying, well, where does a Danish fit in? Well,
It does have a flaky crust and a fruit filling, but I don't know. It's not really pie.
It does have cake in the name, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to fit in.
You know what? If any of your friends or whomever thinks that Harry Potter is better than Lords of the Ring, they just need to be beaten because Lord of the Rings is just so much deeper. I mean, it's like considered a literary work. It's not just like a book that sold a bunch of copies and made movies out of.
It's not that I don't like Harry Potter movies, but I certainly don't think that they compete. They're even in the same realm as Lord of the Rings.
Harry Potter does not compete at all in terms of universe with Lord of the Rings.
Because when you look at what Tolkien did and then everything else that was built on top of that, starting with like perhaps like Dungeons and Dragons and all the things that the paper and pen role playing community did, is Harry Potter going to spin off that kind of activity?
I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, there's so much
exactly
more.
why Doom should have been much higher in the list.
Way to bring it home, Bob!
And there you have it. Video Game Show episode number 35 for April 27th, 2007. Any ham sandwiches to hand out to people of the world?
Oh, to Kumarami Mini, because you don't have a job anymore, you unemployed bastard.
Yeah, he's going to need one.
Hey, I'm glad we think so strongly of the unemployed. Yeah. You know, I don't have a job right now, right?
Yeah, well, you're
Dude,
not
there's a
allowed to
lot
have a
of work
ham
out
sandwich.
I also wasn't the CEO of Sony, so
Any shattered dream pies to the people of the world?
I think I'm going to take one for myself after that.
Let me just grab a slice here. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the taste of life.
Shattered dream pie. Yeah, Duke Nukem forever, huh?
Yeah, happy birthday. Here's your shattered
Here's your
pie.
shattered dream pie.
Okay then, people. I guess that's good night.
Good night.
All right, peoples.
Hey, peeps.
See you next week.
Later.
Word peace.
On a funny side note, a British guy at work got pissed today, slammed down his mouse and went, "Bullocksy bullocks!" and got up and went over and stormed away. As he was walking away, I burst out laughing at him. He goes, "What?" And I was like, "Could you get a little more British when you're angry?" "Oh, bullocksy bullocks, blimey governor!" And he's like, "I did not say blimey governor." Turned around and left.